Today I'm going to be continuing my alphabetical order series as well as attempting to draw realistically. We'll see how this goes. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Today I will be drawing Xena, the warrior princess, because she was literally the only character I could think of that started with the letter X, so I mean that's cool. Also, I remember as a very young individual watching Xena with my dad, so there's that. I have, memories of it. And I remember taking paper plates, cutting out the centers and pretending they were chakrams, the blades that she has, those like circle things. So yeah, fond memories, I guess. I actually completely forgot when I was looking up reference of her. I was like, oh, what did Xena look like? Like I had this mental picture that I remembered that she looked like, but when I looked it up, I had no idea she had bangs. And maybe that's why I liked bangs back then. Who knows? I kind of giggled to myself. I was like, the elite warrior princess has bangs? I don't know. I just found that amusing. I don't know if that's, I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me. Anyway. Yeah, you'll notice, actually, if you pay attention to the screen, I am drawing in my normal style, I would say, for this sketch. But halfway through, because I had absolutely no what I was doing, and I was just like drawing on the fly here, I was like, what if I try realism? Why not? Let's do it. Let's just dive right in, shall we? And so you'll notice here I'm doing a bit of a different sketch style where I'm erasing partially and then drawing over the same spot and adding a bit more detail because her outfit is just so complicated. I was having a really hard time trying to simplify it for like a more illustrative cartoon style. So I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna have to put time into making this look good, why don't I just try to make the whole thing look sort of realistic, as I use hand quotes. Realistic. So here's my attempt. That line art didn't work. Okay, here's another attempt. Me and noses were not getting along, but so first, since I had no idea what I was doing, I was like, okay, let's just try line art for realism. What can you do realism with line art? I don't know. I don't know if that's called semi-realism. I don't know. But I attempted to do sort of a line art, and I'm constantly tweaking the face because faces are just important to me, and I always want to make it look like the actress, even though, I don't always get as far as I would like to go, but I try, so that is what I'm doing, trying to make it look like, what's her name, Lucy Lawless? Is that who it was? No way. Oh, well. And yeah, I'm trying to get that line art right, tweaking that nose all the time. And, the bangs. Here we are adding in the bangs. I really messed up on these in the line art phase, but I actually, when we get closer to the end, I do a more painterly style and start painting over the line art, which gave me a lot more freedom creating flowier bangs, and I think they actually turned out pretty good in the end, so quite proud of the bangs by the end. Oh, tweaking that nose again, can't forget that. Working on the hair. You'll notice throughout this that I'll like grow certain features and shrink certain features. Like her shoulders and her head was too big at one point, and like her hair was huge in the original sketch because my cartoony style, I tend to just give people overly voluminous hair, so when it comes to realism, I gotta like tone it down, That's something I think I learned the most attempting realism in this illustration, at least, is that I exaggerate a lot of things, which is obvious. Like, I knew that I already exaggerated things. Like, I draw waists too skinny, and I draw necks too skinny, and I draw heads too big, and I draw mouths too big. So one of the things that actually really helped with this was just taking a step back and shrinking certain things and growing different things to create a more balance of the body and make it look a little bit more anatomically correct. So yeah, that's something I worked on. That shoulder, I believe I shrink later because I just made it a little too big, even though she's a muscly girl. Not quite that, but there we go, fixing that. Making it, just trying to make it anatomically correct to the, as anatomically correct as I can. Yeah, working on that outfit, trying to get it to look like the one in the movie. Again, the line art didn't really represent it as much as in the end once I'm tweaking it constantly and adding in like the color. Well, I don't really, the shading and like the little details, I think it starts looking a lot better. But I'm actually quite happy with the way this line art was looking when I was doing it. I was like, this actually kind of looks legit. The face looks a little aged right now. I think it's because of the harsh lines. But once you get into like the painting and the shading, that kind of goes away because you end up going over the line art, and then it makes it a little bit softer and again looks a little younger and not as rigid, Oh, and then here I'm trying to add in her sword, but it just didn't make sense. Like, if I had been drawing in my normal style, I think I would have just put the sword in there anyway, because, like, I want you to know that she has a sword on her back. But because I'm attempting realism today, I wanted it to make sense, and the sword sticking out at that weird angle just didn't make sense. Like, if this was a photo, the sword would be right behind her head, so there just wasn't really a way for me to turn it. Like, I should have thought about this when I was creating the pose at the beginning. So like in the initial sketch, I should have figured out where that sword should be, which I thought I did, but in the end it just didn't work. And again, we're just going over those bangs. Yikes. Trying to get them to look halfway decent, you know? But like I said, I do believe I fixed that. Oh, and then this hand, I'm not sure if I really attempted it. You'll see there's pauses in the video. And that's because I'm like stopping to look at my own hand. It would have been so much easier if I had just taken a picture. Why didn't I do that? I don't know. So I'm trying to look at my hand, but it's at an angle where I can't just look down at my hand. Like, I have to twist my wrist all the way around just to get it to look at it like that. So I'm actually quite happy with the way it turned out in the end, but it was a bit of a struggle getting to that point. And like, I never know where to put like those, like, you know how some artists put like lines coming off from the knuckles up to the wrist? Like, I never knew where those went, but somehow I put them on this one and they just looked good. So I was like, that must be where they belong. And that's how you learn as an artist. You just throw lines at the paper and sometimes it looks good. And you're like, well, okay, I'm going to repeat that next time. Yeah, I guess that's just how it goes, you know? Oh, I grew that leg a bit because the leg looked a little too small. I like that a lot better. Because the leg is protruding forward, it's going to be, there'll be a little bit more foreshortening-ish stuff happening proportion-wise. So that's why that knee looks so much bigger than the other knee. Fixing other things that I noticed, because actually, looking through references of Xena, it looks like her outfit changes a little bit from episode to episode. So I just kind of picked the features that I liked, which ended up being the most complicated ones. So yeah, adjusting face again. Oh, this is because I just flipped the canvas, which if you're ever doing anything that's sort of complicated, I suggest you do. Flip the canvas, see your mistakes. So yeah, once I flipped the canvas, I saw that her face wasn't very balanced, so now I am going in and trying to fix that. I don't know what that mustache beard thing was, but yeah, so it's starting to look a lot better. But then I gave her these eyebrows and she looks like Khan from Star Trek, and I'm like, yeah, trying to tone those down a bit. A little harsh, you know? Flipping the canvas again, just trying to get that face balanced, because I think the face, just for me, is the most difficult part to get balanced and to make sense. So when attempting realism, I think balance is very important. So that is why I continue to flip the canvas multiple times. Oh, those eyebrows got dark again. Dang, sheesh. Oh, and here I've sort of completed the line art, but I end up going over the line art painterly later, so that's why it looks a little bit simplified. So here I'm just starting to add in some tones, and I decided to start with the skin, because at this point I wasn't really sure what I was doing, if I was going to color this in with flat colors or try to do it painterly. And so here I'm just going in with gray tones, because me and painting with color just don't get along. So I was like, let's start with some gray tones, try to get our values correct, and just work on that. So that's what I'm doing right now. I really, if I can draw your attention here, I really like the way that right arm looks, like the shading from the shoulder down to like the joint at the elbow. Like, you can't see the elbow, but the joint that's right there. I don't know what it's called. The elbow pit. I really like the way the shading turned out on that. It's just, it's one of those things that, like, you know, when you're an artist and you draw, and then you draw this one thing, like, it's the most random part. It could be like one knuckle on a finger, and it just turned out so perfect. It looks exactly like the way you wanted that knuckle to look, and it just makes you so happy you're an artist. Well, for me, this piece today, it's that elbow pit, man. I love the shading on it. I think it looks legit. It might not be anatomically correct, but I think it looks good, and it's just making me so happy. So yeah, continuing to add more tones, trying to add some contrast between the tones. So I'm trying to figure out where to put the darkest tones, where to put the lightest tones, and stuff like that. So she has a very dark outfit, so what ended up being the lightest tone was her skin. So then we work our way up through the dark tones, trying to make sure that no two really dark tones are too close together, so that the contrast is a little bit more set. So I think I make her skirt the darkest part, and then like with the breastplates, there's like some really bright parts to that as well, but I try to make sure none of it like overlaps with the skin, since it's a very similar tone that I chose to use. So yeah, adding some, she's got like a little, I don't know, a little metally design feature applique to the bottom of her corset there. And then these breastplates, which it took me more times than I want to admit to get these to look good. And in the end, they still don't even really look like hers. They're pretty close. Like, they're close. They resemble her breastplates. But they're still my own design, I would say. Like, they're not really what they're supposed to look like. But what I was really worried about is just making them the same on each side. And once I got to a point where I'm like, yeah, they look the same on each side, I was like, good enough for me. Let's move on. They were very frustrating, but also really, really fun because I'm like constantly painting over the line art. And it's like, it's a lot more freedom when it comes to like painting over top of things because like you don't get a chance to erase anything, but you can just grab a color and paint over it again. And I don't know, I really enjoyed that aspect of this. Made it a little shiny, added some more details here and there, and you'll see, I hope I fixed that, those two little half moons underneath the breastplates are not even. Oh yep, look, I'm fixing it. There we go. Much better. That was gonna bug me if I didn't fix that. I was like, how could I not have noticed that? Okay, and then shading her corset, I actually looked at more references, that's the word, and it's actually like a sort of shiny pleathery material, so I tried to imitate that when shading it. Guess I'm not doing that right now, I'm working on something else. So back to the face. You'll notice I'll keep continually going back to the face and then doing other parts and then going to the face and doing other parts because the face is just something I'm constantly tweaking throughout the whole process. So it's also probably the most difficult and most important, I feel like, to get right. So that is why that is. And I actually really like the way I shaded the corset. It is right now, but I believe I changed it, which I couldn't really undo enough because I didn't duplicate the layer. So it's, I don't know, just poor Photoshop etiquette on my side. So I had to like redo the corset again, but I think it turned out all right in the end. Oh, here, one of my favorite parts of drawing when I'm doing a bit of a painterly style is when I get to add all those little strands of hair and make it look less well kept and a little bit more, you know, rugged. And she's a warrior princess, okay? So like her hair should be going everywhere, and I really had fun with that. And I really like the way that those couple strands of hair go in front of her cheek. I think it's just kind of cute, and also like, you know, a little bit more, what's it? I don't know what the word is. I can only think of the word by barbarian, and that's not the word I want. So I don't know. Working on those lips again because I don't know. They look a little freaky to me, so I was trying to, I don't know, get it right. And her nose, because she has a kind of small nose. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of hard to, I always draw features too big, so the fact that when I'm drawing someone's face, I always have to shrink features a lot. So like the eyes are shrunken way down from what like my more illustrative style would be. The nose is way shrunken down, and the mouth is also shrunken down, and I feel like it just helps with the realism because I draw things too big. So yeah, what are we working on now? Oh, here's where I go over the corset thing again. It's just a bit of a disaster, but I try my best. And I find it really fun to just do the painty, shady stuff. So even if it didn't turn out the way I wanted it the second time, it was fun. So yeah. Oh, and another troublesome area was the skirt, because she has so many different like strands of leather or whatever it is just coming out, and they're not attached. They're only attached at the very top. So if she puts her knee up, there's going to be a big gap. So that was kind of interesting, trying to figure out how that fabric would lay and trying to, you know, determine what that would look like. And then she has a bunch of these different sections that are connected with like a metal bolt of some kind. So I had to go in and add all those details as well. Yeah, just continuing to do that. Oh, something I did want to mention is that it's what I find most interesting about this speed paint in particular is that I sketched it all out in like my normal sort of cartoony style, and then as the drawing progressed, it became more realistic-ish, you know? And I think that's just kind of an interesting thing to watch, is if you skip back to the beginning of this video, you'll see my more cartoony style, and then you can skip to the end of the video and you see what I've been able to accomplish trying to make it look a little bit more realistic. And I think it's really, really interesting. And I don't know, I just wanted to mention it, see if you noticed at all. I don't know. It's just something that I found interesting. So it's almost like it's a style swap. Like I started drawing in my style, and then by the end I drew in a more realistic style. Because whenever I do style swaps, I usually just start out trying to draw in the style that's not usually mine. So I thought it was interesting that in this I started with my normal style and slowly evolved it to a more realistic, which I think is very helpful as a study. So yeah, definitely use references, guys. You learn a lot. Like drawing from realism, just doing this exercise has taught me so much that I want to transfer into my more illustrative style. So yeah, your style is never complete. It's always evolving, and I think drawing from realism is going to really help any style out a lot. So it's definitely recommended by me. So yeah, those boots didn't end up looking like her boots. That's another thing that I just sort of tried to make look cool. Didn't really worry about making them look exactly like her boots. So yeah, and then I was going to go in and add color afterwards, but it just didn't happen. I'm kind of having a bit of a rough week, so I apologize for that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful week, and I hope you have a delicious evening. Bye. Oh, and there's only 2 letters left in the alphabet, and I'm almost done with the alphabetical order series, and I can't wait.